Welcome back, Multi-Battle Conference. We are the Amoonguss Burnouts. Matt and Anthony here with two members of our lovely admin team. Our two league commissioners, Austin and Dave, returning this season as the newly anointed Regigeezers. Go ahead and say hi, guys.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, so you guys have a pretty sweet team here. You were at the very bottom of the draft, so you were you got to pick at the wheel there. All of your picks came in pairs, which is kind of an advantage and kind of a disadvantage, but more of an advantage, I think, if I'm being honest. So you guys first picked the Gmax Rillaboom and Volcanion together, getting that Firewater Grass Core in 2 picks. Really great pair. After that, you went with the Cobalion and Kanto Mr. Mime as a Steel and Fighting type and a Redirector. After that, you went with the Alolan Persian and the Gudra, followed by the Suicune and Coughing, and you finished off your picks with the Gmax Sandaconda and Kumbaskin. So first, we want to give you guys an opportunity to just tell us about your draft. What do you like about it? What's important about it? How did the draft go for you guys?
I think it went well. I mean, we didn't really get sniped on anything that was heartbreaking, and our main goal was to have good balance, good bulk. And there were some different strategies that we wanted, but I feel really positive about it.
Definitely. I mean, the times we did get sniped, I think we actually got better Pokemon in return. Like we got sniped on Togetic, and then we got Mr. Mime, which I think is better overall than Togetic, has more options. Then we got sniped on, we wanted Jellicent, and I think the Jurors got it. So we got Suicune as a bulky water type. We picked that later in the draft just so we can have the option of having a fire type and a water type in case we need both, being we can't bring 2 Volcanions without getting banned. So thought that was a good idea. And then just I think our D tiers at the end, I mean, they might look like fillers in the just to the naked eye, but they actually have a lot of good use, and you might be surprised by what they can do.
Well, you guys definitely have a really solid team. Got some interesting insights there. We'll probably get some more as we throw some questions to you guys. But first, we are going to go over your report card that we put together for you guys. So first off, we're going to start with your drafting grade. We thought that you guys actually did really well. We gave you an A- on this metric. We liked the way that you drafted. I think, like I mentioned, you guys were on the wheel there at the bottom, so all of these picks came in pairs, and I think that's important to note when we're sort of evaluating how the draft went for you guys. Picking Volcanion and Gmax Rillaboom together, I think, was absolutely fantastic. It was, I think, one of the best pairs that you could have gone with right there at the beginning, given what was still available. I think picking Mr. Mime, essentially, it was your 4th pick, but it's essentially the 2nd time you get to make a pick since they came in pairs. I think picking Mr. Mime early on was really good, and I clearly you guys are going for a beat-up justified combo with the Persian and Cobalion. I think a lot of people would expect you to pick those together at the same time, kind of like how you picked Rillaboom and Volcanion at the same time. But given how fast redirectors were going, I like the Mr. Mime pick earlier. And then, of course, you also still had a couple of strong beat-up options still on the board at the time, like Sneasel and Weavile stick out to me especially. And I think both of them are still on the board. I don't think anybody picked either one. So you still had some backup options on that. I really like that. And I do like the I do also like saving one of your A-tier picks for a little bit later. It allowed you to pick up more value out of the B tiers and get what you wanted from there. And I think that especially shows with the Mr. Mime pick. As far as I'm concerned, Mr. Mime it's my favorite redirector in B tier. you know, Togetic has some stuff over it like the bulk and the tailwind, but Mr. Mime is just, it has so many different tools. The only thing I'm a little weird about is putting the Suicune in that last A tier slot. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. You want to take Synergy for us?
Yeah, overall, the draft was really good, though. I like their draft at A-.
Yeah.
And then Synergy, I mean, I feel pretty straightforward. We gave you an A- for that, too. You guys did a great job putting these together. Obviously, in your first 6 picks, you were able to fill out all 3 cores. Those cores being the Fire, Water, Grass, the Fantasy core with the Steel, Fairy, Dragon, and then the not so much overlooked, the Dark, Psychic, Fighting core as well. So being able to get those, like, really puts you guys in a good spot as far as type synergies are concerned. I love the Kanto Mr. Mime pick, just like Matt does. It also helps a lot with your synergy by being able to redirect certain things. Like, for instance, it protects the Gudra really well, protecting it from Fairy type attacks and Dragon type attacks. You know, so it does that job fairly well. I do like the thought process for the Suicune. I am kind of on board with Matt, where I wonder if the pick was a little bit misused, or not misused, but just a wasted opportunity a little bit. But I like the thought process of, we have a Fire Water Pokemon already. It's going to need to do so many things, as well as be a Fire type and a Water type. Let's get a Water type as well to kind of round out the defensive synergy a little bit. So that way, you know, Volcanion doesn't have to do everything that it needs to do. So I do like the thought process of going after the Suicune there. The Coughing and the Combuskin, if you're going to grab D tiers, I mean, we had Coughing last season. We never really brought it, but it's there. It has its uses. Combuskin, you know, we drafted Torchic, so we know exactly what you can do with that too. So I do think that you guys were able to find value in a lot of your picks. But honestly, like, this draft really shines as far as synergy wise in those first 6 picks. You look at those first 6 picks and you see right away, okay, a lot of these Pokemon work well together and you know, are going to be able to help each other out in several different ways, and work well in the multi-battle format too, because where you're only stuck to one side, a lot of these Pokemon have no problem switching in for one another, just because of the nice bulk and type synergies that you kind of have combined there. So overall, we were able to give your synergy an A-.
Moving on to threat level, we dropped you down to a B, just a solid B for threat level. You guys do have some significant threats here. I think the most significant ones are going to be those top 3. The Rillaboom and Volcanion, I think more than anything else on this team, are able to come out and just put down damage immediately. Especially, I mean, everybody knows how threatening Rillaboom is with Grassy Glide. Volcanion still has a 130 base special attack, and even if it has some kind of physical coverage you want to put on it, it still has a 110 attack. It's, you know, definitely usable. Yeah, for sure. Cobalion being a beat-up Justified sweeper is definitely threatening. Not as threatening as it is in VGC, because you only get to +3 in a multi-battle format instead of +4, being that you only have 3 mons on each side. And Cobalion is one of those Pokemon that kind of needs every boost that it can get, since it only has 90 on the base attack. Which again is usable, but if it's going to be your main Dynamax sweeper, you know, you really want it to get as much out of that combo as it can. Mr. Mime and Persian are definitely threatening support Pokemon, but we didn't feel they were as threatening as they could have been with maybe some other support Pokemon in that slot. Not that those are not the right choices for your team. I think they do fit well. That's why we gave you a higher synergy grade and a not so high threat level grade. The Gudra, I think, it has a lot of potential, but to be threatening, but it also has potential to be kind of underwhelming, with only 100 and 110 on its offenses. It kind of needs some kind of like weakness policy boost or something if you really want to sweep with it. Otherwise, in in certain matchups, I think your opponent might have an easy time sort of ignoring it and addressing it once the bigger threats are out of the way. And then Suicune, I think, is something that brought down your threat level a fair bit. It's, it can be threatening on its own, especially if there's a special heavy team. It's something that can just kind of sit there and spam Snarl. It's obviously a reliable, somewhat reliable Tailwind setter. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but it does have inner focus and a lot of bulk. But we felt that there were some other options for Tailwind setters that you maybe could have put in that slot to get a little bit more to make your team a little bit more threatening. We were kind of looking at something like maybe a Braviary or a Corviknight or a Tornadus Therian. But you guys also, I mean, you mentioned that you do have your reasons for drafting Suicune, so I don't think that's entirely wrong. But it does bring down your threat level a little bit. So we give you a B there.
And in versatility, we also gave you a B. Mainly because in versatility, we're looking for Pokemon that have the ability to switch sets often. Rillaboom is a Pokemon that is actually very versatile. Not just because it could only be offensive or defensive. It does have decent supportive move pool. Like, I believe it has Snarl and things like that. But like a Swords Dance set completely changes Rillaboom and its role from being more of a pivot and a Grassy Glide chip damage to a 100% just Dynamax sweeper. So, stuff like that is one of the things that we're looking for in ability to switch sets, and I don't really see a lot of that with most of these Pokemon. Volcanion, you know what it's going to do for the most part. It doesn't really have a way to boost up its own stats. So it's going to just rely on its base 130 and attack, and it's very, very powerful attacks on top of that. But it's what you're getting out of that. The only thing that you can kind of do is maybe like give it a Life Orb or Choice Specs to increase the damage level a little bit. Cobalion, it's a justified user. It's going to sit on the field. It's going to take justified hits. It's going to Dynamax, and it's going to start throwing stuff out. Mr. Mime, you more or less know what it does. It does have a deep move pool that you definitely can have a lot of support tools out of it, but you're not necessarily scared of a Mr. Mime sweep. You're scared of maybe a weird move that it might have. You're scared if maybe it sets up a specific type of screen on you. Taunt, things like that. Alolan Persian, same thing. It's a defensive pivot. Gudra, Suicune, you more or less know what these are doing. They're being supportive on. So while I do believe that your role players are very strong, right? Mr. Mime is probably, like we said, the best redirector in the game, and its value as a redirector and its role is very, very high. But as far as versatility is concerned, it grades very, very low. And you have a lot of Pokemon that are kind of like that are very good in their particular types of role. But as far as how versatile they are in between switching those roles, you don't really see too much of that. So still good, but not as much as we've seen in some of the other teams in the league. So because of that, we gave you a B on the versatility, and your overall grade ended up at a B plus. So actually, one of the better grades that we've been giving out, because I believe a lot of teams are going to be hovering around. If we're just going to be frank here, probably like the B minus B range is probably going to be the average.
We're still early in the process.
We're still early in the process, but just kind of, looking at some of these teams, you're on the above average end there. You guys definitely have a team. If I were to compare you to a team from last year, I would honestly compare you to maybe like the Patrats or the Talonflames. I think the Patrats are a little bit more rounded out than you at this point, because they had a decent Trick Room mode with the Copperaja and the Runerigus. But the Talonflames were one of those teams that like had a lot of very, very good pieces, and combined with their exceptional skill as players and their ability to prep, and their ability to go in and grab certain Pokemon that fit their team later on in the transactions, it made them like a very, very good playoff team. I see that out of this team here. So I can definitely see you guys making playoffs with something like this. It's definitely a good team. You guys are veterans in this league. are used to making playoffs and having winning records. So definitely a good draft from you guys. Definitely an awesome team. And honestly, I'm excited to watch you guys play it.
Yeah, for sure. I want to see what these mons do for sure. Moving on to the pros and cons. You want to? I don't think we're gonna spend too much time here because we hit on a lot of the stuff in our grades. But do you want to take the pros? I'll take the cons.
Yeah, sure. So for the pros, pretty simple. You guys got all 3 major type cores. They all work pretty well. We really like the fire, water, grass that you guys were able to go with, which is the next point. It's a very strong, balanced core. Doubling up on the water. You're hearing what you guys had to say about that. Honestly, I understand it more and more. It's a strong, balanced mode and very unique considering the water fire typing on the Volcanion. The beat up justified stuff. You're essentially just having that in team preview, constantly going to force them to lead some type of redirector. It's gonna work out great for you guys, I think. When you know one slot is gonna be something that is gonna be a little bit more passive, it helps you a lot more in your prep because you know they have to dedicate something to stop that particular combo. If not, they're just gonna get rolled, and you have to be able to stop that basically turn run. One. And the most valuable B tier redirector. I think that's a really strong point that needs to be addressed. Togetic is good. I think nobody would disagree that Togetic is a very, very good Pokemon. But I think it's amazing how undervalued Mr. Mime is in this league, considering everything that it could do. Having Filter, it's really good typing, being Psychic Fairy. I wonder a little bit if... Oh, God, sorry.
Yeah, we might have had that 3 seasons in a row, Dave. 2 or 3 seasons in a row. We had. I know it was like a late season trade for us at one time. Then we drafted right away. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, and last season, I believe it was the Skarmories. The Skarmories took it, and they took it very late, and people were just like, "Okay, that's fine." And me and Matt are like, "Oh my God, that's such a great pick from them. Yeah, we loved it." And even they were like, yeah, it's okay. We're glad we got Mr. Mime. And we're like, it gets Fake Out. It gets so many like things.
Yeah, I think it was underutilized on their team, and I think you guys have given the team that you have and the experience you have with the Mr. Mime, I think you guys have a lot more potential to unlock everything that it can do and if Mr. Mime is going to live up to its potential, it will do so on this team.
Yes, absolutely. And we all know if you played in this season if you played in this league for more than a season or two, you know how valuable redirection is and how much it helps to have a very versatile one. So, veteran pickup from you guys. I love the pick, like Matt said in the draft grade, going, okay, we're gonna grab Cobalion. We'll come back for a beat up Pokemon later. We gotta grab that redirector, man, because that's important. So kudos to you guys. You guys did a great job with that. So those more or less were some of the major pros that we saw on the team.
Moving on to the cons, your major type cores, like we mentioned, you have all 3 of them, which is really amazing, especially since you got them in just 6 picks. But we felt like usually what you want in one of those type cores is like you want all of their individual members to have like a decent balance between offense, defense, and speed to make the type core itself a little bit more versatile. With this one, unfortunately, I think that's I think offense, defense, and speed is balanced enough for the Gudra, Volcanion, and G-Max Rillaboom. I think Cobalion leans a little bit too hard on the offense. It's a little bit like having something like Cobalion as part of your a steel core, right? Yeah, and also something like Colossal being like a member of a fire, water, grass core. It's a little bit awkward because you can't really play as defensively with it. It's more there just for offensive synergy, which often might be enough. It's I don't think it's a terrible idea, but it can be sort of limiting in the way that you might want to play either of those cores. And then Persian and Mr. Mime obviously they're really great support Pokemon in their own right, but they lack a little bit of the offense there. So I'm wondering if you might miss that Dark Fairy or Psychic type offense a little bit. You know, Mr. Mime has decent offense. It has 100 base special attack. You know, that's usable, but it's mostly a support Pokemon. Persian's main offense is just going to be coming out of foul play, so it's going to be a little bit harder to do damage with that. Your speed control, I think, is decent. I think it's mainly going to come out of like Icy Wind, Mr. Mime, and like Tailwind Suicune. And Suicune is reliable in that it can't be flinched, but it also feels a little bit like taunt bait to me because it's typically run. It's only got a base 85 speed stat, and you're typically not going to run it very fast. And everybody knows that Tailwind is like the #1 thing that it wants to do. So I think in a lot of situations it might be enough. But I think also in some situations you might be hurting for some more reliable speed control. I think Persian might also get Icy Wind. That could be good too. Fast Icy Wind is definitely good too. So it's not something that like I'm gonna tell you guys have to patch this up right now, because you don't, and what you have already could totally be enough. I'm thinking occasionally it might not be. I'm a little shaky on that, but it's something that I was kind of thinking about. And then we talked about the Suicune a little bit. I think I like that you saved one of your A tier picks for toward the end of the draft. But I think if you picked maybe a different Tailwind setter, you might have a little bit more versatility in what your team can do, and maybe more of a threat in that slot. It would something like a Braviary or like a Galarian Articuno could give you a decent max Airstream sweeper. So I think you're sort of missing out on that a little bit, but I do understand kind of why you wanted to double up on the water types as well. And then finally sorry, go ahead.
Even though it's not stab move, I could see if we're going to be Dynamaxing Cobalion a lot to draw a boost, and it gets Airstream too.
Yeah.
Harding shouting out with Persian into something else is maybe a little more slow. So I think a Suicune is like a bulky setup mon most of the time in a draft league, and then it has a Tailwind option, but you have to decide if that's going to be really valuable to you, or if you want to do follow me, call mine stuff. I mean, you 1 or 2 Calm Minds, and you have something just as offensive, but a lot bulkier than a lot of these other things that might be a sweeper. So that's kind of I think we probably ran it in the past more with more setup than we did with Tailwind.
Okay, I mean that's fair too.
Before those previous seasons, there was like an hour timer where we only have like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful with that time.
Yeah, definitely. That's a fair point. And I think I guess if you wanted to go for that kind of calm mindset. Maybe this is just me, but I'm thinking that might not be something a lot of people expect. So you might be able to catch people off guard there if they're expecting Suicune just to be kind of a Tailwind Snarl bot, you know.
I mean, you could even combine it and have Calm Mind in. You can run Icy Wind with it too to have, you know, a little bit stronger Icy Winds, a little bit different coverage if Scald isn't going to work, and then you still have speed control too.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just worth it for us to say as well, because it's one of the things that we're going to kind of hit the jurors on a little bit when we do the interview with them, that the Tapu Fini, which is very much like Suicune, Calm Mind setup and everything like that, is still not super offensive. It's going to be more of a versatility Pokemon that can help, that can enable a lot of other things that you have. And kind of like what Dave alluded to too, I was talking to Dina a little bit about this, as great as Calm Mind is, you're playing for the long game, and that may not be ideal in this type of format. So it's just kind of something that we have to hit on, because we're going to hit them pretty hard on not having a super offensive water type. We kind of have to do the same thing. But honestly, the Suicune pick is going to be very good. It's a very versatile Pokemon. Overall, it's very good. So
yeah, I think it's more versatile than maybe we were giving it credit for.
Yeah.
So that's fair enough. I just feel like
it just keeps coming back. we're kind of like the Tailwind a lot. I just want to say you can do other things.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
It just kind of seemed like the team, at least in that A tier slot down there, it definitely really benefits from having a Tailwind user there. Yeah. So I think it's a lot of the time. I would predict that in your prep it's going to be difficult not to put Tailwind on it because a lot of your other team kind of needs it. And then the last con, we talked about this a little bit. Your team seems kind of weak to Trick Room. You have Mr. Mime that could potentially reverse Trick Room. I think it also gets Taunt. It probably gets Imprison. But at the same time, you're aside from Coughing, your slowest Pokemon is the Volcanion at 70 base speed. So I'm I'm wondering if you guys might end up having a little bit of trouble with opposing Trick Room modes. So that's gonna do it for the. Sorry, go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, we just got there's no Gmax Hatterene to worry about. There's regular Hatterene to worry about, but we'll set the prep accordingly. You see, Trick Room threats. We'll let them not be threats.
For sure.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I think the main thing too is that because that speed stat is so high, even some of the faster Trick Room sweepers are gonna still be able to underspeed you. Yeah. Stuff that normally we hit on like a Marowak where it's like, ooh, base 45, that's pretty fast. It's still slower than everything you have here. Golurk where it had base 55, still slower than everything that you have here. So I think that might be something that it doesn't even necessarily need to be base 29 Gmax Hatterene or anything like that, but just Pokemon like that just might barely be considered Trick Room sweepers are going to be able to underspeed you. And I think that may be a little bit of an issue. But ultimately, just like we talked about with the Matt Alcinas, they have tools that they could work with to kind of play out of that. It's going to be interesting to see what tools you guys have, because you guys obviously have two prominent taunt users on Alolan Persian and Mr. Mime. And then obviously Mr. Mime has Fake Out, Follow Me. It can do a lot of things to kind of stall out Trick Room a little bit. But it is going to be interesting because...
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the main thing, is it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, there's also two oblivious Trick Room users in the format right now. Both Slowking and Johto Slowbro were taken. So, Taunt's not going to do anything to any of those Pokemon. Focus Sash, Oblivious, Slowking was a very, very reliable way for us to get Trick Room up. So things like that, it's gonna be interesting to see how you guys take care of that. I'm not saying that you guys aren't going to be able to, because we like the team and we think you guys are going to be able to do a lot with it. But yeah,
Suicune has Roar.
Or Suicune has Roar, and it should work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Does it?
All right, let's get these guys back in here. You want to start us off with some questions?
Yes, absolutely. So the first one was you guys. We talked a lot about the synergy in these first 6 picks. When you guys were drafting, was that the goal? Were you guys like, all right, we're just gonna hit all these type cores in the first 6 picks, or were you guys just like, hey man, we kind of have a plan, and it just so happened that we got all the type cores in there?
Go ahead, Dave. Go ahead.
I think we lost sound on Dave for a second.
But Dave, I think your sound cut out.
It's
It's
lit up like he's talking, but we can't hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Austin, do you mind taking that question until?
Oh,
there we go.
See how we planned it. It just changed slightly.
Oh wait, hold on. I think we're getting a little bit of
lag
there.
Yeah.
Okay. Dave, can you give us a sound test real quick?
Can you hear me?
Okay,
yes.
Now we can hear you. All right,
Perfect.
There we go.
All right, we can get back on it.
Okay, back on track. Let's go.
Do you want me to repeat the question, Dave? We're not getting them again.
Yep, sound is off again.
Did it cut out?
Yeah.
Austin, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'll answer it the way Dave's kind of getting figured out here.
Okay.
I think when we approached the draft, I basically sent him a list of things that I thought would be good, and a lot of the things we kind of agreed on, but he had some suggestions. We kind of made our teams up from that, and Dave really wanted to go after the core synergy, which is kind of how I started out with it. I mean, I always basically approached the team building like that. So our initial lists were pretty close together, and that was kind of both of our first steps was making sure we had all our bases covered with typing.
So did you get sniped at all? Did you have to? I know you guys mentioned that you might have wanted Togetic. Was there anything else that was that you were trying to complete these type cores with that you didn't actually get?
Flygon was one we wanted. I know Joe took that. So that was kind of probably my most disappointing one. But then when we thought about Sanconda, that almost worked better for us. So that was our probably our biggest snipe. And then we mentioned Jellicent. Was our initial pick for a bulky water type, and then the Togetic and we worked out better anyway. So
we kind of alluded to it already, but can you just go ahead and tell us from your guys' mouths yourself the particular reason why you guys drafted the Suicune to double up on water to kind of help the Volcanion out a little bit? Can you just give us your thought process on what doing that?
Yeah. Are you working now?
Man.
Yeah, still can't hear him. He's lighting up like we can hear him, but we can't hear him.
Okay. Yeah, it's working. So we kind of mentioned earlier, but like Volcanion's great and it covers a lot of things, but the problem is you're relying on it to do a lot. And Incineroar kind of has that problem too sometimes in VGC where you need to do a lot of roles and a lot of jobs. So we wanted to add another bulky water because if we're planning on using Cobalion a lot for offense, we wanted to be able to cover it on two sides. And we used Suicune in the past, and that gave us our Tailwind setter too. So it was the only thing that kind of checked those two boxes together. And it could have been, something a little more offensive, but with Dynamax being a thing, you can't underestimate how bulky you need to be to survive some of those hits too. So especially in a multi-bell format, when you lose one side, really up against it. Then if I lose all my Mons and Dave only has his left, so you want to be able to balance your bulk out pretty well. So that's kind of our thought process there.
All right. So, Dave, we still got you there? We still having issues?
I hear you.
Man.
I would try reconnecting to the voice chat if we can. If that doesn't work, then well, I'm not really sure what else we do.
Well, we're pretty much at the end here, so I just want to get Dave's opinion on some of these questions. We did ask him the questions in the first place, so if we can't get the answers from him, I believe either I remember or Austin probably remembers his answers. He's pretty. There was only 3 of them. Pokemon that you drafted that you're excited to use.
I'm excited to use Volcanion. I think that was Dave's pick initially. I'm excited to have Cobalion. He's one of my favorites, just for the Dynamax format. It's probably those two. A lot of the other ones are kind of ones we utilized a lot before. They're second true. So.
Yeah, and Dave mentioned that, just to kind of expand on his point a little bit, Dave mentioned that Volcanion, since it's illegal in VGC, we don't get to use it very often. You guys have obviously used it before. He had a good time with it. And I do agree. It was actually one of the more interesting picks that you could... Oh, cool. We got Dave back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, Dave.
Okay.
I did.
Perfect. You want to go ahead and explain to us why Volcanion is something that you're excited to use this season?
Oh, yeah. We've used it in the past. And it's just exciting because it's not legal in VGC. So it's going to be interesting to be able to use it. Steam Eruption hits like a truck, so it's always fun to use, and maybe we'll get a nice lucky burn.
Yep.
Water fire type is also not something you're getting anywhere else.
Nope.
So that's really fun.
Yeah. Wish we got it in GS Cup in Sun Series. I would have liked it against the Scarf Kyogre.
Yeah. Right, we mentioned that in 2019 VGC too. Like, oh man, Volcanion would be so good.
Yeah, I think it would have been good. Okay, and then the next one is underrated member of your team.
I think Sanconda, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think I kind of think Gudra too, just because if you can get it Dynamax, I mean, it does have Sludge Bomb, it can boost its own special attack. So.
I like this Anaconda answer mostly because I think it's a really cool Pokemon, and to me, like none of its abilities are really all that great. It's not really a reliable sand setter, and its stats can seem kind of lackluster. Like a base attack that's more than 100 is good, but it's nothing super special, and its speed stat is a little awkward. I really want to see it work. I'm not really convinced that it's going to very often, but I really want to see you guys use it. I want to see you guys do well with it for sure.
And for the Gudra pick, we have a local in SoCal. Her name is Gail. She was bringing Gudra a lot in the beginning of probably like before the pandemic shut everything down. So what is that? Season 3, Season 4, or Series 4. And she was destroying people with it because of like it has the ability to self-boost. Obviously, if you support it properly, it can be a very, very, very bulky Pokemon. So, yeah, I do like the Gudra pick. I think you guys can definitely do some good with it. And then the last one is your guys' expectations this season. You guys are back after a little hiatus. What are your guys' expectations this season?
Definitely at least top 4. Make playoffs. That's not going to be good enough. We're going to get at least top 4. Get back to finals.
Nice.
Hopefully.
I agree.
Nice. Good. That's exactly what we like to hear.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah. And I definitely do think that with this draft, you guys have the ability to make playoffs and definitely make a little playoff push.
Yeah.
Especially the great thing about playoffs is everybody else's Pokemon becomes available, and you start filling in those tiny cracks with beautiful Pokemon. You're like, oh yeah, this is nice here. So I definitely think you guys have the squad to do that. It's going to be incredibly fun. We love having you guys back again, and can't wait to see what you guys are going to be able to do. Show these youngins how to handle this Pokemon stuff.
Yeah, it's fantastic to have you guys both back, especially on the same team. So, do you guys have any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, I'm excited for the season. So, just good luck to all the teams, and it's good to be back for myself too. So.
Dave, any final thoughts?
Just good luck to everyone again. And I know some people are a little nervous about their draft and how their season is going to go, but just, play it week by week. Make sure you do research on your team, look out their full move sets and everything, and they'll be just fine. So looking out for all those new players, make sure that they're comfortable joining the league.
Solid advice.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us once again, guys.
And everything you guys do for the league. We appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you guys too. Thanks for hosting these videos. They're awesome.
No problem, guys. We love the league.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on, and we will see you on the battlefield this season. Peace.
Yeah.